Hi, this is Pastor Ruth from Calvary Baptist Church in Cobourg, and this is our next installment in our series of short videos on how to pray your way. These videos are intended to serve as an invitation to anyone who wants to come and join us at our church sanctuary at 237 Ball Street in Cobourg on Thursday afternoons from 3 until 6 p.m., when our doors are open for anyone who is just looking for a quiet place to connect with God one-on-one. Today's focus is on what it is to pray a prayer of grief, because sometimes it's hard for us to find the words to express what is in our hearts and what is in our minds when we are facing deep grief. Grief can be the hardest thing for us to talk about. It can be hard for us emotionally. Sometimes we just can't quite put it into words, or sometimes we feel like we need to be strong for someone else, so we don't want to admit what we're wrestling with. And sometimes it can just be physically difficult to talk about grief, because as soon as we start to try to talk about it to anyone, our throats can clench up, or we can start to cry. Maybe we don't even want to try to talk about it. Maybe we just don't want to think about it. Maybe we want to push it to one side and stay busy and hope that the feelings resolve themselves. Maybe we belong to a family or a culture where the stiff upper lip is the way to go. Just be calm. Don't admit that you're struggling. Don't let on that you're weak. Maybe it's not until you're alone. Maybe it's not until the lights are out at the end of the day and there's nothing left to do to keep busy. There are no distractions for you to think about when the grief finally hits. And maybe in a moment like that, you can relate to David, the psalm writer, a man who in his life experienced every imaginable form of grief, just like Jesus did, dealing with loss of family, loss of people he loved, betrayal by friends, grief and loneliness. And David, writing in Psalm 6, and Psalms are wonderful because sometimes they provide us with the vocabulary we need to say the things we can't say on our own. In Psalm chapter 6, David wrote this, such a long, long time ago, but words for today. He writes this: I am worn out from crying. All night I flood my bed with weeping until it's floating on my tears. Every night I drench my bed with my tears until it starts to actually dissolve. My vision is blurred by grief. Everywhere I go, everything I see through the filter of what I've lost and how I'm hurting. My eyes are worn out. Does that sound familiar? Well, God's invitation to you, to me, is to share with him, to be honest. If we can't share it with anyone else, share it with him, because he knows anyway. Share your grief with him, just like Jesus did with his tears and his grief. So if you are dealing with grief, I encourage you to pray something along these lines. This is just a suggestion. This is not a prescribed fill in the blank, but it's a suggested guideline. If you want to talk to God about your grief, about your heartbreak, I encourage you to pray something along these lines. God, I am worn out. I am heartbroken because I never wanted this. I didn't ask for this. I don't deserve this. as I grieve, God, as I wrestle with my tears. I want you to know I want you to show me God, I am worn out from weeping. Let me know that I am not alone. Because you're not alone. As I said, Jesus experienced the same griefs, the same struggles, the same pain, the same loss, the same loneliness that we experience from one day to the next. And in those extraordinary moments of loss and hurt. So I encourage you to pray your way. Talk to God and know that you are heard. Know that you are not alone. And know that He is there to keep the conversation going. Join us next week for another installment of Pray Your Way.